Willa Ansell opened her cottage door at 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning in October to find a small, solemn boy of 8 in his best small coat and his best small cap and his best small boots, holding a plain, honest, small folded piece of foolscap and a plain, honest, small pencil, and standing on her porch step with the plain, honest, small gravity of a Cutbank clerk. She said, "Good morning, sir." The boy said, "Good morning, ma'am. My name is Kell Merrick. My father is Ansel Merrick of the Merrick Ranch. My mother was Nora Merrick, formerly Nora Winch of Springfield, Missouri, before she died when I was 2. I have been assigned by my schoolmistress at the Cutbank school to write a plain, honest, small family tree paper by Monday morning, and my father cannot help me with my mother's side, because my mother's parents both died when my mother was 7, and my mother was raised by strangers. Widow Wells at the mercantile counter told me plainly on Wednesday afternoon that a widow Ansell of the small cottage at the fork of the 2 roads west of Cutbank had, in her youth, known my mother at Springfield, and might, if asked politely, help me plainly. Widow Wells said your name plainly. I have walked. Here I am. May I please come in for a plain, honest, small hour? Willa Ansell, 46, in a plain, honest, slate-gray day dress, with a plain white apron over it, set down the plain, honest, small spoon she had been holding. She said, "Kell Merrick." Kell said, "Ma'am." She said, "Sit at my plank kitchen table. I have coffee for me, and milk for you. Give me a moment." Kell sat at the plank kitchen table. Willa Ansell went into her small back parlor. She opened the plain, honest, small drawer of her plank desk. She took out a plain, honest, small folded photograph of 1859 that had been in the drawer 30 years. She took out a plain, honest, small folded page of her mother's family Bible with the plain, honest, small handwritten pages of the family tree in her mother's own honest hand. She brought both back to the plank kitchen table. She sat down opposite Kell. She said, "Kell Merrick, your mother, Nora Winch, and I were first cousins. Her mother, Astor Winch, was my mother's older sister. I was 10 years old at Springfield, the year Nora was 7, and her parents died. I saw Nora that year at my mother's plank kitchen table 3 times before Nora was sent to the plain, honest, small orphanage. My mother tried, in 1860, plainly, to adopt Nora. My mother was refused, because my mother was of the wrong denomination. I have carried plain, honest, small guilt about Nora for 35 years. I have watched, from my plain, honest, small cottage at Cutbank since '82, when I moved here after my husband Perry died, the Merrick Ranch's plain, honest, small light every Sunday evening at 7 from the ridge on my porch, and I have known, plainly, that Nora's small son was there. I have not, however, in the plain, honest 3 years since your mother's death, been able to walk to the ranch and introduce myself to your father, because I have not known how to say to a plain, honest man of 38, "Sir, your late wife was my first cousin, and I have carried 35 years of guilt about her, and I would like plainly to be a part of your small son's plain, honest, small life." I have not been able to say that plainly. She said, "Kell Merrick, may I fill in your family tree paper?" Kell Merrick said, "Ma'am, please." She filled in Kell's plain, honest, small family tree paper. She filled it in plainly. Nora Winch, mother, born 1850 at Springfield, died 1882 at Cutbank. Astor Winch, maternal grandmother, born 1828 at Springfield, died 1857 at Springfield. James Winch, maternal grandfather, born 1826 at Springfield, died 1857 at Springfield, of the same fever that took Astor. Astor's father, Silas Cross, born 1802 at Cedar Falls, Iowa. Astor's mother, Mary Cross, née Halloran, born 1804 at Cedar Falls, Iowa. She filled in the plain, honest, small paternal side that she knew of by way of her mother's plain, honest, small letters, from a plain, honest, small Winch aunt of Ohio, who had written her mother in 1860. She showed Kell Merrick the plain, honest, small folded photograph of 1859. It showed Willa's own mother, Mercy Cross Ansell, sitting at a plain, honest, small plank table at Springfield, in her plain gray day dress, with her plain, honest, small niece, Nora Winch, age 9, on her lap. Nora was smiling shyly. Kell Merrick looked at the plain, honest, small photograph a long moment. He said, "Ma'am, is that my mother?" Willa Ansell said, "Kell, yes." Kell said, "May I keep the photograph?" Willa said, "Kell, yes. It has been in my drawer 30 years, and it belongs, plainly, at your father's mantel." Kell said, "Ma'am." Willa said, "Yes." Kell said, "Would you drive me home to my father's ranch this afternoon? I would like plainly for you to meet my father, Ansell Merrick, at the plank table." Willa Ansell said, "Kell, I will." Ansell Merrick, 38, sun brown, in a plain wool shirt with the sleeves rolled to the forearm, met Willa Ansell's buckboard in his yard at 3 that afternoon. Kell got down. Kell said, plainly, "Papa, this is Widow Ansell, of the small cottage at the fork of the 2 roads west of Cutbank. She is my mother's first cousin. She has helped me fill in my family tree paper. She has brought a photograph of my mother at 9 that I would like plainly for you to put on the mantel." Ansell Merrick took his hat off. He said, "Ma'am." Willa said, "Sir." Ansell said, "Ansell, please." Willa said, "Willa." Ansell said, "Willa, please, come in. There is coffee." She came in. There was coffee. She stayed for supper. Kell told his father, plainly, the whole shape of the plain, honest, small Saturday morning. Ansell listened. He did not, in the whole of Kell's telling, interrupt. He said, at the end, "Willa." She said, "Ansell." He said, "Nora spoke of you." Willa Ansell set her fork down. She said, "She did." Ansell said, "She spoke of you plainly at our plank table 3 times in the 4 years of our marriage. She said, once, that her first cousin Willa Ansell of Springfield had, in the plain, honest, small orphanage year, walked to the plain, honest, small orphanage fence and had left, at the fence, a plain, honest, small basket of buttered brown bread and a folded handkerchief for Nora on 3 plain, honest, small Wednesdays that Nora had, plainly, never forgotten. I have wanted, plainly, for the 3 years since Nora died, to find the woman who had left the plain, honest, small basket. I have not known how. I have not known your name. Widow Wells of the Mercantile did not, plainly, tell me plainly. Widow Wells, apparently, told my son." Willa Ansell said, "Ansell." He said, "Yes." She said, "I did leave the plain, honest, small basket 3 Wednesdays. My mother told me she would take a strap to me if she caught me at the fence a 4th time. I did not go a 4th time. I have been sorry about the 4th time, plainly for 35 years. Ansell Merrick said, "Willa Ansell, 3 Wednesdays was 3 more Wednesdays than any other plain, honest, small cousin of Nora's ever walked. Nora carried the memory of the plain, honest, small folded handkerchief in her plank table sewing basket, the whole of the 4 years of our marriage. I have it plainly still in the plank table sewing basket at the small back room. I did not know whose handkerchief. I know now. May I return it to you?" Willa Ansell said, "Ansell Merrick." Ansell said, "Yes." She said, "Please keep the handkerchief at the plank table sewing basket where Nora kept it. It is not to be returned. It is to remain plainly where Nora put it, in her plain, honest, small kitchen, in the plain, honest, small household of her plain, honest, small son." Ansell Merrick nodded once. Kell Merrick, from the plank floor beside the mantel where he had been quietly hanging the plain, honest, small photograph, said, "Papa." Ansell said, "Yes, son." Kell said, "May Widow Ansell come to supper on Sundays?" Ansell said, "Son, yes, if she is willing." Willa said, "I am willing." She came to supper on Sundays. She came in November. She came in December. She came in January. She came in February. Kell Merrick and his younger sister Prue, aged 5, who had been mostly at Aunt Hetty's kitchen, with the plain, honest, small chickens, came to know Willa as their plain, honest, small mother's cousin, and their plain, honest, small Aunt Willa. Ansell Merrick came to know Willa at his own plank table across the Sundays. He came to know that she read a plain, honest, small newspaper aloud, in the plain, steady voice of a woman who had read a great many plain, honest, small newspapers plainly. He came to know that she mended a small, honest child's dress with plain, honest, small stitches, Nora would have recognized. He came to know that she had, in the 4 years of her own widowhood, run a plain, honest, small mercantile mending business at Cutbank that paid old Weller a fair rate. On the 3rd Sunday of March, at supper, after the children were asleep, Ansel Merrick said, "Willa." Willa said, "Ansel." He said, "May I say a plain thing?" She said, "Please." He said, "I have been in love with you since the plain, honest, small photograph at the mantel in October. I did not know I had been, until the 2nd Sunday of December. I have been holding it since. I am not holding it now. I would like to ask you plainly whether you would consider marrying me. Kell and Prue call you Aunt Willa. I would like them, if you would consider it, to call you Mother Willa, in the plain, honest, small way that would not, plainly, replace Nora, but would sit plainly beside her at the mantel. That is my plain, honest, small ask." Willa Ansel said, "Ansel Merrick." Ansel said, "Yes." She said, "I have been in love with you since the 2nd Sunday of December also. I have been holding it, because Nora's cousin does not, plainly, press against Nora's widower without permission. I would like to marry you. I would like plainly to sit at the plank table Nora sat at, plainly beside her, at the mantel where the plain, honest, small photograph plainly is. That is my plain, honest, small yes." Ansel said, "Willa." Willa said, "Yes." The circuit preacher married Ansel Merrick and Willa Ansel in the front room of the Merrick Ranch on the last Sunday of April. Kell, 8.5, gave his father away. Prue, 5, held the ring on a folded piece of blue muslin without dropping it. Widow Wells of the Mercantile stood witness for Willa. Aunt Hetty, 63, stood witness for Ansel. The plain, honest, small photograph of 1859 remained on the mantel throughout the ceremony. Kell Merrick, at the plank supper table afterward, said, plainly, "Papa, Mother Willa, Mother Nora." He said all 3 names in one plain, honest, small sentence, and did not, in the whole of that sentence, stumble. Ansel Merrick put his rough hand along Kell's cheek. He said, "Son, well said." 2 years on a warm September evening at the Merrick Ranch, Willa Merrick sat on the porch step with Ansel beside her. Kell, 10.5, was on the porch bench with Prue, 7, reading a plain, honest, small McGuffey 3rd. A small daughter, Nora, named for the plain, honest, small photograph, was 10 months old and asleep against Willa's chest. Ansel Merrick said, "Willa." Willa said, "Ansel." He said, "The photograph." Willa said, "Yes." He said, "It is where it plainly belongs." Willa said, "It is." Ansel kissed his wife's temple. The pasture went to gold. Kell read the McGuffey. Prue listened. Baby Nora dreamed. And Willa Ansel Merrick, who had opened her plain, honest, small cottage door at 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning in October, to a plain, honest, small, solemn boy of 8, in his best small coat, with a plain, honest, small folded piece of foolscap and a plain, honest, small pencil, put her cheek against her husband's shoulder, and understood that the good, slow country had, in its good, slow way, given a plain, honest, small Cutbank schoolmistress, a plain, honest, small family tree paper to assign on the plain, honest, small last Friday of September, and had, on the strength of one plain, honest, small photograph of 1859 that had been in her plain, honest, small drawer 30 years, given her back not just the plain, honest, small gilt of the 3 orphanage Wednesdays, but the whole rest of a plain, honest, small household under the plain, honest, small Merrick mantle, where the plain, honest, small photograph of a 9-year-old cousin now, plainly, belonged. And so it had.